Now let's get into a bit of South America. Nedum, joining us is Luis Miguel Echegaray. Luis, welcome aboard. Luis Miguel, sorry. LME, whatever. Uruguay against Brazil. Big win for Uruguay, and massive news. Neymar, a serious injury. Looks like a cruciate injury. It's a lot of time away.
Yeah, let's begin with that. Neymar Jr. after the Uruguay game, during the Uruguay game, suffers after obviously the medics confirm it, ACL, meniscus. The medics are hoping for an 8-month recovery, hoping to get him ready for Copa America. Of course, that's insanely optimistic. Nedum, you would know, of course, as a former player, that's just very optimistic. So it's normally a 9 to 12 month situation here. But yeah, Neymar is out, and obviously he has a history with injuries, so it's not looking good. It was a horrible moment for him. Obviously, we wish him the very best, but I am not thinking he'll be ready for Copa America, but he'll be out for a significant amount of time.
Yeah, it was pretty horrific. Sometimes with these injuries, with ACLs, sometimes you wonder, wait, what just happened? Because it looks like nobody touches him. In this case, it's not that he was touched, but he's kind of taking giant steps to regain his balance, and you can tell immediately his face. Like, it's a big blow. In a weird way, on a footballing, from a footballing perspective, leaving aside the iconic status of Neymar, obviously they do have loads of attacking talent that they can replace him with for the Copa America on the pitch. So that's a conversation I think we're going to talk about a long time. Being on the pitch, it's now 2 games in a row that Brazil have failed to win.
Yep.
Uruguay, close affair, but whatever Uruguay are doing now, it's working.
Well, the Marcelo Bielsa effect, my friends. I mean, listen.
It did not seem to be like an obvious fit for Uruguay,
really? Given
their history.
I tell you why I think it fits perfectly. I think Marcelo Bielsa, obviously we all know about the history of Marcelo Bielsa. Obviously, if you're a Leeds United fan, you have an already connection with him. I actually think Bielsa, who already managed national teams in the past, is so suited for international competition, just because of the philosophy that he gives, the amount of energy that he gives to his team. Uruguay, who is going through a renaissance of their own, because he didn't call Edison Cavani. Lucho Suarez is not there, right? Godin is gone.
Well, how are those guys going to play in a Bielsa system? They can't.
One, they're not, and 2, he doesn't want them. The oldest average player, I believe, is Roche, the goalkeeper, is 30 years old. Everybody else is super young. Ugarte, they got Fede Valverde, Nico de la Cruz. This is a very dynamic Uruguayan side. Now, to your point, Gab, about, how this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. We have to wait and see how it does. But so far, so good. And it's exactly what you expect from a Marcelo Bielsa side. Possession, they care about it, but not so much. It's about being in your face, and that's exactly how they beat Brazil. They pressured. Darwin Núñez, of course, leading the way, and they're doing very well. We'll have to wait and see how it goes. But so far, Uruguay killing it.
Do we know what the sentiment's like when you say remove some of those older players? Because not everybody likes change, especially when it's someone that you've seen so established for so many years, with the Suarez and so on.
Well, I would imagine now, this is, people said, all right, let's go and do something different, right? Because after years of Tavares.
Well, you say people, who people? Is that people who work for the federation, or is it the people who want to support the team?
I think probably, correct me, you know better than me, but I would assume people who care about football. I think after years of doing the same stuff over and over again, calling the same players and so on, and you had a lot because you had chemistry, you had understanding, you had a strong dressing room, but equally, it was time to do something different.
Yeah, it's important to remember a little bit of context about Uruguay. Obviously, El Maestro Tavares, who is essentially the godfather of Uruguayan football, left after so many years. And from there, Uruguay were like, we need to change a few things. Diego Alonso comes in, and it didn't work out, obviously, at the World Cup. And from then, they were like, we need a revolution. And the thing about Uruguay, a very small nation, they needed to have that transformation, and they did. And so far, it's working.
Uruguay, a great story. I know why you're talking so much about it, because there'll be less time to talk about your Peru team. Beaten.
This is why you called me. So I can cry on live television, Gab Marcotti. Fine. Let's talk about it. Go ahead.
All right, win for Argentina. Messi turns up. I thought he looked good.
Yeah, he did.
And right now, this Peru team, again, you talk about teams that keep the same guys out there forever. Seeing Paulo Guerrero, who I believe is about 12 years older than Nedum. Generational, yeah?
Yes, indeed. Well, let's begin with Argentina. Clearly, right now, they are, in my opinion, by far, not just South America, the best international team out there. They are clicking. Messi, after this game, as you said, he was doing it. He scored a brace. He was just like, he was retiring Peruvian players on the spot with his skills. He was killing it. And he said, we're closest, I believe, to Pep Guardiola's Barcelona than we are. They're looking good. Peru, very quickly. Listen, it's a generational issue. The Peruvian domestic soccer league is not good. And Juan Reynoso, our manager, who used to be a defender, is playing reactive football. Yeah. It's not good.
Luis Miguel, what struck me here was playing with Messi and playing without Messi is different. It's not just a question of quality, it's a question of style because, as we've said many times, this is the guy who walks around the pitch. They won their first game in this international break without Messi. I mean, he came on at halftime and nearly scored an Olympic goal. And then they lined up with Messi this time. Can you just talk about I think this is kind of underrated from Scaloni, the fact that you can adjust like that.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's important to remember that Argentina have not lost a World Cup qualifier since 2017. So there's already been a progression. And clearly, Argentina and Brazil are usually the two leaders in that context. But Scaloni, who's worked all over from the youth developments to the under-21s, under-23s, to now the national team, has really built a team around Messi. And I know that that's easier to talk about than explain, but that's exactly what happened. No longer do we have in Argentina Messi dependencia, a dependency on Messi. So you can just play around. Julian Alvarez, by the way, if Messi didn't exist, they'd be talking about Julian Alvarez, how incredible he is. And it's not just like Nico Gonzalez on the left who plays for Fiorentina. This is a very good, smart team. And Messi's correct when he said after that Peru game that they're getting closer and closer to something very special. After already winning the World Cup, by the way.
I'm just waiting for my man Martinez Cuarta to get in there and just supplant Otamendi in the starting lineup. Nedum, Brazil, obviously, because it's South American qualifying, because the World Cup has expanded to 96 teams, they're going to be there, and 12 of the 10 teams in South America are going to qualify.
Oh my gosh!
Equally, it's
both
a
of those jokes are going to fly over certain people's heads. Please carry on. Please carry on.
Equally, though, I think it's got to be about if you're Fernando Diniz. I don't want to get you on this as well, Elemi. You have a certain way of playing which is very attacking. You're just the interim boss because maybe Carlo Ancelotti might come next year, maybe not. But immediately the screws start turning on you, right? Because Brazil fans will have, for the next month, this is all they're going to talk about until they come back for the November break.
Yeah, that is true, and it's just not a quiet job, is it? Managing Brazil, managing Argentina in relation to South America, in relation to world football. Like, you're not supposed to lose. You can't lose. Like, how are you losing? This is Brazil, and for whoever comes in, I'm sure even if it's just a part-time job, this could be the most significant time of your whole career. Because whether you have it for a day or you have it for 10 years, it's still going to be a huge achievement to have that job. But so comes the pressure, so comes the expectancy. And losing games in the way that, say, they did, and obviously losing Neymar does affect that. As you mentioned, it's going to be a long 4 weeks before they get the chance to try and redeem it. And then even still, imagine if you don't win the next game. Imagine if you, say, for example, like, put in a performance which the fans don't love. Before you know it, everything's being used against you. And that's the sort of downside of that job. But the upside is you get some of the most talented players in the world.
You get to manage the most important national team in the world, as evidenced by the T-shirt that LME is wearing. If you're Diniz, do you maybe take this opportunity now without Neymar? Because he's been compared in the past as like, he's more of a Klopp-type manager, and he wants... it's not the slow build-up. Let the guys... You can just say, all right, I'm going to let Vinicius fly. I'm going to get Richarlison, fly. Maybe Casemiro, who wasn't good again, alongside Bruno Guimaraes. Maybe I gave somebody else, somebody more dynamic. Maybe we try this. Do you think about those experiments, or are you kind of like, no, let me just keep the seat warm until Carleto comes?
Well, there's a few things. One, I've never been a fan of an interim manager who's also got his eyes and responsibilities somewhere else. I don't care where you manage and how strong a team is, and I feel that that's already an issue there. And it's obviously the reluctancy of the federation wanting to hire anybody that's not Brazilian. They've called Diniz the Brazilian Guardiola. That's all very nice and good, but that takes a long time to try and build, as Scaloni and Argentina have shown. Listen, I hate doing this, But there's so many issues, not with Brazilians' offensive firepower. Like you said, Vinicius, Rodrigo, like Lucas Paquetá when he gets over his issues as well. Like you have a few things to do. It's at the back. Casemiro has no place in the starting lineup, and yet he continues to start. I know I'm being biased, but somebody like Douglas Luiz for Aston Villa should be in this squad.
That's the bias.
And that's the only reason why I came.
That's the Villa fan. There we go.
No, but to wrap this up, Brazil has issues at the back as well. Only Marquinhos is the only one that's the experienced enough. That back four has completely changed. And now, when you're facing stronger South American nations, right, tougher teams to compete away from home as well, Denise has a lot to do. And Brazil will qualify 6 direct spots, get into the World Cup in 2026. If you don't get into that, if you're Brazil, then it's ridiculous. But there's issues for sure.
Yeah, if you don't get in, you dissolve the federation. Danilo also out, I think, who is a miss, who I think is a miss with his experience at the back. Elami, a final point on what people really want to know is what impact is Neymar's absence going to have on Al Hilal? We'll leave that one for next time.